Hey, Zio here. I've been sick the past few days, and I wanted to talk about this the night it actually dropped and happened. I was at work, though, and then followed that with getting sick and allergies and everything else, so I haven't been able to do anything the past few days. We're gonna go ahead and get into it right now. So the topic is ProJared. I made a video about this back when it happened. I probably should have rewatched it before I hit start recording, and I didn't. Anyway, I remember being quite disappointed in Jared. A lot of things were happening. He made it publicly, a public announcement that him and Heidi were going to get a divorce, and things got super ugly super quickly on the Twitterverse, to the point that him and NormalBoots and everything else was trending, because the internet was quite in the firestorm. So we're going to go ahead and sort of go through this really quickly, sort of a simplified of what all happened, shall we? But essentially, Jared says, they're no going to be together, blah, 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 throws out a thing. Heidi then counters and just floods the internet. Jared doesn't say anything. Holly Conrad gets pulled into it, and then she starts flooding the internet with things. People start, blocking their accounts, protecting their accounts, things like that, then doing info dumps of random stuff, and trying to piece everything together has been a really hard thing to do here, there, and everywhere. And then 2 other allegations came out. The third one, he talks about 3 primary allegations, probably 2 of the most damning ones in this 40-some minute video that he does, right? And these were the ones that I was really concerned about because, I'm a fan of Jared. I'll just say it out loud, I'm a fan of his. I've watched his stuff for years. He's the nerd who made it, after all. So it was very disappointing to see all this stuff coming out. But, the most damning things was the allegations of some underage persons. And I said, it'd be nice to figure out if this is true or not. There are people out there who have said they've contacted the authorities and stuff, and I assume that, these people, Chai and Charlie, had also contacted the authorities. And then, we'd wind up with another, Subway Jared moment, essentially, where they, arrest him a year or so from now, or, months from now, or whatever, and there's all this child pictures and other things on his hard drives and stuff, and we learn he's a giant P to the E to the D to the O. Things like that. However, that's not seems to be what happened. So, he comes back with this video. You've been lied to. I encourage you to watch it. I am going to link it down in the description, as well as the other thing that he links, which is a lot of receipts, which, I encourage you to go look at. A lot of archived things of what Charlie said, the Daily Beast article, Chai and other stuff, archives of their things that you should probably go take a look at. But, yeah, so those are all things. He links it, he shows off a lot of the receipts, and he starts going through one by one of how and why that they've lied. There's no way that this happened the way that they said it did, and he does a really good job doing it. Let's go ahead and oversimplify real quick, because this is a 40-some minute video, but essentially, Chai has no memory between the times that it should have happened, that he claims that, Jared and him were exchanging the nudes. Chai has no real memory of that. In fact, he was in the hospital, lost 6 months worth of time, among other things. So there are one of a few options here. Either A, Chai is lying about the hospital thing, and the thing with Jared happened. B, he's lying about the Jared thing, and the hospital thing happened. Or C, he's lying about all of it to garner sympathy. And with some of the other evidence that he brings up and shows off about how these people are huge fans of the game Grumps. And being that Gerard, sorry, wrong person, Jared is, friends with these people because they've done a lot of things in the past together, especially since a lot of these people, the completionists and other groups out there, have sort of, they're I guess you could call them, the OG YouTubers or something, and those are the ones I remember the most from way back when. But you got the Game Grumps, everybody on NormalBoots, the completionists, Jared, and others out there. And they all sort of know each other. They're clicked together, and so to get in with the Game Grumps, go in through somebody else seems like a pretty good plan. Get in their favor or whatnot. But it would seem that their plan to use this to help themselves to money and wish lists and other things in the game, a bit of fame and stuff like that, worked. Definitely worked. A lot of people did, come to their defense and offer them help and stuff like that. Charlie, on the other hand, also had proof that her allegations or his allegations are real. And, so showed a few of those off and said, this is what was going on and stuff like that. And it turns out that those naturally, which I'm pretty sure I said we need to be skeptical of it, because it is easy to fake things like this or to selectively screenshot stuff to make things worse or to look worse and all this other stuff. Turns out that's exactly what happened. Now, there's the receipts, they're in the video, but essentially, the whole conversation has been selectively edited to make it look like one thing was happening when another thing was happening. Now, we can go into the legalese of when it comes to, say, minors and non-minors, and, if you don't know how this works, even if the minor tells you they're not a minor, and say explicit pics or a certain act is performed between the two parties, you're still held liable for that, being as you're the adult and they're a minor. So even if they do lie, that doesn't protect you from the law. However, it doesn't seem like anything was actually really exchanged, and Charlie is the one who's constantly, saying, hey, what's up, and stuff like that, and initiating the conversations. So, that, honestly, is great. I love it. That's nice. That was my biggest thing, in this whole ordeal, to find out that Jared doesn't seem to be a P to the E to the D to the O. That's great. I'm pretty sure, this video probably took him a bit. He said there's a lot of other things that he can't really get into due to legal matters and stuff like that, which I'm sure has to do with his divorce with Heidi and things. And then there's a third allegation that's talked about with some other chick from Toaster Ghost. And honestly, I remember hearing about it shortly after it, and then I waved it away like that is the most ridiculous thing I think I've ever heard anybody try to pin on somebody as a bad thing. Because apparently her thing was, well, he was disrespectful to me at a panel or something, and he showed my nudes to people. And you know what? When you hear he showed my nudes to people, you think something, bad about that. He hacked her stuff, got her nudes, whatever, forced it onto other people and things. Turns out she worked for Playboy, some kind of gamer next door segment. I think I'm more surprised at the fact that Playboy has a game girl next door or gamer next door segment than anything. That just sort of blows my mind a bit, because I'm just like, really? That's a thing? Okay. Whatever, Playboy. But when it comes down to that, I'm sorry. Some people may not like this thought process or whatnot, but if you're posing nude or a magazine or something like that that is designed for, customer consumption to be looking at and stuff, you have like no right, honestly, at that point to say, he found my pinups that were published publicly in Playboy and showed it to other people. That is the most ridiculous thing I have ever heard in my life. Now, you got a case if, say, you took something in private for your BF or GF or whoever it is, your significant other, and sent it to them and them alone, and then he somehow got a hold of it and showed it off to people, then yes, I will back you in your corner and say that was despicable. But come on. Really? Really? And then it turns out it probably wasn't even true to begin with. Jared does go into it briefly. He, for the most part of this entire 40-some video, he talks about Charlie and Shibe and really goes in, does some digging for that. And then I think the more interesting thing about all of this has to do with Heidi O'Farrell, his ex-wife. Between, we can go into the whole idea of polygamy and all this other stuff, which I guess we'll talk about, because it's not something I'm used to. But I have my own thoughts on this whole situation from the information we do have. But Heidi's Twitter erupted after this video dropped. So we'll go ahead and we'll look at this real quick. When you generally believe that you're superior to the rest of society, accountability feels like oppression. Not really sure what she's going on about, other than Jared dropped a video and then suddenly everything is about her. Now, I could understand if he dropped a video about her for her to suddenly react like this, but to be totally honest, if it was, say, I don't know, me or something like that, because this is the internet, because her reasoning for spurging out on Twitter essentially at this point is people were harassing her. People came at her or whatever, and this is the internet. People are going to do it. You either mute, block, or throw your thing into protection for a while and just wait for it to blow over at that point, unless it's something that really requires you to address, And this did not require her addressing really anything, because she's already done all of it prior, when her and Holly were spurging out just doing data dumps constantly. But you've got somebody else here. We'd appreciate hearing your side of the story more. Honestly, I think we've heard a lot of her side of the story at this point, but if she's got more insight, I'm willing to look at it. Sorry you're not superior to other people, just like anybody else. I know, right? And this is a screenshot which, got showed as well, of Jared talking to a trusted third party about things and other stuff. But she essentially just sort of spurgs out at this point, and then talks about how she's going to Dragon Con and then not going to Dragon Con and then going to Dragon Con again, and how she canceled her trip to TwitchCon to try and save their marriage, and essentially a video that is 40-some minutes long, where, we'll just play it. This part is essentially about her.
And stirred up a mob. I already know people are moving their goalposts so that they can continue to condemn me by saying, oh, well, he's still a cheater. No cheating happened. I told my wife of the time that I no longer wanted to be with her in October of 2018. I was refused. I was told no. I was denied. I had my career threatened. I felt controlled. I sought therapists and lawyers to assist in separating. We tried discernment therapy, to no avail. I have texts from that time that show I was refused and that it was just going to be taken as a warning. And I have texts between myself and a professional third party well aware of the entire situation that shows I was trying to end it around that time. Holly is being called a homewrecker, which is such an antiquated term, and that makes it seem like that I had no power or choice.
Anyway, so the next part is about Holly. Essentially, that was it when it comes to Heidi in this video, with the exception of a few other parts and locations that I remember, him saying don't go out and, attack her, don't harass her, that sort of thing. And it just feels like when you make a video that long, and most of it is about other people, and then you suddenly take to the, I guess the defensive or offensive on Twitter and start to spurg out about it as if it's all about you. Clearly reading the things that she was posting and replying to at the time, it really felt like she hadn't even watched the said video. But yeah, today is the worst harassment I've received yet, months after the divorce announcement. Gerard telling people not to harass me is meaningless when he says it in a video that designed to discredit and invalidate my suffering, as well as others. The video wasn't about you, honey. I'm sorry. Look, I know you don't wish people to be mean to Heidi or whatnot, but I'm gonna have to tell you how it is. Which just be cray-cray. Seriously. But it's not enough to get away from my abuser. Gerard is fully aware of what Dragon Con means to me in typical. And then it finally comes together. And yes, I did not watch the video. His performance, voice, and face triggers me now. I spent months trying to talk to him while he stonewalled me. No point in trying anymore. Listen, I don't know, I've never been to Dragon Con or whatnot, but if you plan to go to Dragon Con, go to Dragon Con. Seriously, just go and do it. There's nothing keeping you from it. I highly doubt anybody's going to come up to you and start screeching at you over Jared. Go hang out with your friends. It's the best thing you can do. Let's bring it back here. That's the best thing that you could do right now. When it comes to looking at all the different things, in my opinion, I feel like that Heidi is the manipulator. Jared here may deny that. He may say no, she's not doing anything or whatnot, but it is clear to me that looking through the receipts between what Holly dropped, Heidi dropped, and what we're getting through all that, and then her spurg out on Twitter shortly after this video drops, as if it's all about her, when it was barely maybe 5 minutes total if you add it all together. Maybe 7, I don't know. But because she was barely talked about in this video at all, other than him denying the cheating part. And when it comes to polyamory, from what I have gathered throughout all this is how this happened. Heidi says, hey, want to be polyamory or whatever, polygamist? Jared says, sure, honey, if that's what you want to do, we can do that. Then she pursues multiple different, relationships after that fact. And from what we've gotten through those leaked text messages and stuff that the data dumps, it seems like only Heidi was participating in this whole multiple partner thing. Until she said, hey, I've got a good friend. I think you'll like her. You should go and tell her that you have feelings for her and have a thing off to the side, just like I do. And then Jared did it. Now, everything gets a little bit really complicated, I guess, at that point, because you've got different things happening at different times and stuff, but something changes. Jared finally starts seeing somebody else along, with all this stuff going on. Heidi doesn't like that. Maybe she realized that Jared isn't exactly built to have multiple relationships at once. It's possible. And she decides to feel like, or she decides that it's a danger for her relationship with her husband to let him date another woman. So they go ahead and she flips out, and decides to not let this be a thing and says, look, you can no longer be with her. Only me. Meanwhile, she's also taken other people on the side as well. It really feels like to me that this was more of a manipulation tactic from Heidi going, look, I love you and all, but I also want to get it from these other guys. Are you okay with that? And then the second she lets him gets it from other people, yeah, that's not gonna do it. We can't have that. We can't have that. I've changed my mind on this. And that feels kind of selfish, if you ask me. But that's just from what the information we know right now. For all I know, maybe Jared had 3 or 4, things off to the side, and Heidi had 3 or 4 things off to the side all in one go. I don't know. I don't know their relationship, and I don't know it that well. But with her respond on Twitter and everything, I honestly feel like now that she's the one who's doing all the manipulating. She's the one who's making it all about her. There was no reason for her to be doing any of that, but she was. Anyway, let me know what you think down in the comments below. I will talk to you later. See ya.
Hey, thanks for watching. Don't forget to leave a comment, smash that like button, and always subscribe for more. And of course, there are other videos floating around somewhere on the screen, so click one of those and see if you can find something that suits your fancy. Till then, I'll see you later. Bye.